Good morning friends. In this video for 9th class, this is second part of the chapter 2.5 a play. If you have watched the previous video, this is second part of this chapter. If you have watched the previous video, you can state whether these statements are true or false. So my dear friends, if you have not watched the part 1, please go through it and then watch this second part. The statements are: the three guards were talking with each other. Is it true? You have to find out the answer. A sage tried to enter. It was court of R.A.JHA and disciple wanted to visit the court. Whether all these statements are true or false, you have to find out by watching the first part of this video. Now, I am going to talk about the scene, what happened next. The second guard was telling that you may stand there, pointing out, with those people who are in queue. What happened? The guard suggested or instructed the disciple to stand in the queue outside where more people were standing, and thereafter a loud voice from backstage, and the words were, "Hear you people, here comes the most noble, most revered, most gracious, most learned King Chopat of this vast kingdom. Make way for the king, both to the royal monarch." So my dear friends, when any ruler, any king enters his court, you know very well which kind of announcement take place. In the same way, in a very loud voice, the entrance of King Chopat held there, and thereafter King Chopat arrives, and to the fanfare of bajas and drums, and takes his place on the throne. So there was, in the scene first, we have already seen that the court was waiting for the entrance of Chopat Raja, and finally now he entered into the court. What happened then? Then king said, "Let the court begin." With his such instruction, the court began. Then fourth guard messenger said, "The first complainant," and with this loud noise, the first complainant entered into the court and said, "Do you know who was the first complainant at that time?" My dear friend, the first complainant of that time at the court was a thief. You can imagine how a thief can be a complainant. Let us see how a thief made his complaint before the king. The thief rushes forward and wails loudly, "Justice, O most great king, I beg for justice." Then king said, "And what's your complaint?" Then thief made his complaint. "In this great land of Andher Nagri, my friend and I have been truly hard-working, honest thieves." My dear friends, be attentive. Hard-working, honest thieves. All these years we have been true to our profession, and what is our reward? Lord, last night with great efforts we made a hole in the wall of a merchant's house. When all his family were away, my friend peered through that hole into the house when suddenly the wall collapsed. Wells louder. And my friend was instantly killed. I have lost my only friend and partner. O king, it's the merchant's fault for living in a house with such weak walls. So my dear friends, now you can say that how a thief can be a complainant, while every time people make complaint of a thief, but here thief was making complaint of a merchant because he and his partner were trying to make their skillful profession into practice, and for that they were made whole into the merchant's house, because the merchant's house was alone and no one of merchant's family was there. And so the thief and his partner, his friend, both were trying to make hole, and his partner tried to watch from that hole, and at the same time the wall collapsed and his partner passed away. That's why the thief was making complaint of merchant who was living in a very weak walled house. So my dear friends, is it interesting to watch that a thief was making complaint? And now what will be the king's action? Let us see. Fetch the merchant at once, a life for life. The merchant must be hanged. King ordered his guards to bring that merchant into the court, and he said a life for life, means for the life of the thief's partner he wanted to hang that merchant. Now merchant came into the court and he said, "Mercy, O noble king, I had no intention of killing these skilled professionals. It is not my fault that the wall of my house collapsed. My house has been recently built. It is the fault of the bricklayer who carelessly built such a weak wall." Then king said, "Bring the careless bricklayer immediately. He must hang for his fault." Second guard leaves the ritter with the bricklayer. So my dear friends, what happened at that situation? Thief made complaint of merchant, and merchant came there and requested to the king that it was not merchant's fault, because the house has made recently and it was fault of bricklayer who carelessly built the house. Now king called the bricklayer to hang him. Then what was the bricklayer's reaction into the court? Let us see. "O most kind lord and king," kneeling to the king, "have mercy, I beg you, don't send me to the gallows. I agree that I built the wall which collapsed and killed a man. But it was not due to my carelessness. The mortar which I used to lay the bricks was of very poor quality. There was too much of water mixed in it. It is entirely the mortar maker's fault." So my dear friends, thief made complaint of merchant made complaint of bricklayer, and thereafter bricklayer is making complaint of a person who was mortar. So mortar maker's fault came in front of the king, and now what will be the king's reaction? You can guess very easily. He will call the mortar maker. Let us see what said the king. "Summon the mortar maker at once. He must pay with his life for his thoughtlessness." So my dear friends, with his thoughtlessness, the mortar maker must be in front of the king. It was the order of the king. who was the King Chaupat. Then mortar maker entered, and the mortar maker came in front of the king and requested that he has his own family with 2 children and wife, and that's why who will look after them. So he begged his life from the king. My dear friends, what happened next we will see in our next video. Till then, have a nice day.